Canada is committed to building its own robust military and resilience capacity. That message stood at the heart of Mark Carney's address at the NATO summit in Turkey. It was more than a statement about defense spending. It was a declaration that Canada sees the world changing faster than the old security model can keep up. For decades, NATO has operated with familiar assumptions about who carries the greatest burden for collective defense. But according to Carney, those assumptions are no longer enough. His speech outlined what he presented as a historic transition, not only for Canada, but for the future of the alliance itself. The international security environment is evolving rapidly. New technologies are transforming warfare. Hybrid threats are becoming more sophisticated. Autonomous systems are changing military strategy, and regions once considered peripheral, especially the Arctic, are becoming increasingly central to global competition. Against that backdrop, Carney argued that Canada cannot simply continue playing the role it has played in the past. Instead, he described a country preparing to become a more active leader inside NATO, one capable of contributing more responsibility rather than depending primarily on others. That shift begins with one fundamental idea: responsibility within NATO is changing. According to Carney, the alliance is entering a period where security burdens are becoming more broadly shared. Rather than relying overwhelmingly on the United States, Europe and Canada must expand their own capabilities and contribute more directly to collective security. That represents a significant change in how Canada sees its role. Instead of viewing NATO primarily as a source of protection, Carney presented Canada as a nation preparing to strengthen the alliance through its own investments, planning, and military readiness. The implication extends well beyond today's summit. If responsibility becomes more distributed, every member must possess stronger independent capabilities while remaining fully integrated with allies. That requires long term planning, sustained investment, and a willingness to adapt to threats that look very different from those of previous decades. Carney's speech repeatedly returned to that central theme. The world is changing. Military planning must change with it. He pointed specifically to an evolving threat landscape shaped by autonomous warfare, hybrid conflict, and the growing strategic importance of the Arctic. These aren't isolated developments. Together, they redefine where security challenges emerge, how conflicts unfold, and what military preparedness actually requires. Traditional military strength alone is no longer sufficient. Technology, resilience, logistics, industrial capacity, and strategic geography have all become critical components of national defense. That understanding shaped the next major part of his address: investment. Defense spending has often become one of the most closely watched measures of commitment within NATO. During his remarks, Carney laid out Canada's financial roadmap with notable specificity. Canada intends to reach defense spending equal to 2% of GDP. But that is only part of the plan. He also described an additional 1.5% dedicated specifically to resilience, bringing the combined total to 4% by the end of the decade. The numbers themselves are significant, but Carney emphasized that they represent something more important than percentages on paper. He argued that these commitments are designed to produce real military capability. That means investing in naval and maritime strength. It means acquiring aircraft. It means ensuring members of the Canadian Armed Forces receive appropriate compensation. In other words, the focus is not simply on increasing budgets. The objective is strengthening Canada's actual ability to contribute to NATO operations and respond to emerging security challenges. That distinction became one of the defining themes of the speech. For Carney, success is measured not by announcing larger budgets, but by building practical capabilities that improve readiness. Yet, whenever governments announce ambitious spending plans, another question immediately follows: how will they pay for it? Carney addressed that issue directly. He argued that these commitments are fiscally responsible and have already been incorporated into Canada's broader financial planning. Rather than presenting defense expansion as an unexpected expense, he described it as part of an established fiscal framework. He even pointed to major procurement projects, including submarine acquisition, as examples of investments that have already been provisioned within that framework. That message served an important purpose. It sought to reassure audiences that Canada's security ambitions are being matched by financial planning rather than short term political promises. In Carney's presentation, defense and fiscal responsibility are not competing priorities. They are intended to reinforce one another. But military spending was only one part of the larger transformation he described. The next shift may prove just as significant. How countries build military capability is changing alongside the technology itself. For years, nations often approached defense production through largely domestic industries operating within national boundaries. Carney suggested that model is becoming increasingly outdated. Instead, he described a future built around collaboration. Rather than working inside isolated national silos, Canada intends to deepen partnerships that create integrated supply chains across allied nations. His example focused on cooperation with Ukrainian firms. Specifically, he highlighted collaboration involving drones and autonomous technologies. That choice reflects the broader direction of modern military innovation. Autonomous systems are becoming increasingly important in contemporary defense planning. By partnering internationally, Canada hopes to accelerate development while reducing costs and strengthening cooperation across NATO. The benefits, according to Carney, extend in multiple directions simultaneously. Taxpayers benefit from more efficient production. Military forces gain access to modern technologies. Industrial cooperation becomes stronger, and the alliance itself grows more interconnected. Instead of every nation independently solving identical problems, partners contribute their respective strengths to shared objectives. That approach reflects another important change in thinking. Security today is no longer built solely through armies stationed within national borders. It is increasingly supported by industrial cooperation, technological innovation, resilient supply chains, and long term partnerships. Those elements become strategic assets in their own right. When nations innovate together, they don't merely reduce costs, they increase interoperability, they strengthen collective resilience, they create systems capable of responding more quickly to future challenges. That broader vision appeared throughout Carney's address. His speech was not simply about buying equipment, it was about reshaping the foundation of Canada's role inside NATO. From procurement to partnerships, from fiscal planning to military modernization, from national capability to allied integration. Each element reinforced the same overall direction. Canada intends to become more proactive in shaping the alliance's future. The Arctic provided another important dimension to that vision. Carney identified the region as one of growing strategic importance. Its significance continues to rise within global security discussions, making northern defense increasingly relevant to Canada's national strategy. By highlighting the Arctic alongside autonomous warfare and hybrid threats, he connected geography with technology. Future security challenges will emerge across multiple domains simultaneously: land, sea, air, digital networks, autonomous systems, and strategically vital regions where geopolitical competition continues to evolve. Preparing for that future requires more than reacting after threats emerge. It requires anticipating where the world is heading. That is ultimately the story Carney attempted to tell. His speech framed Canada as moving away from older reliance models toward greater national capability and greater leadership inside NATO, not in isolation, but as part of a stronger, more integrated alliance. The vision he described combines increased defense investment, fiscal planning, technological modernization, industrial cooperation, and strategic readiness into a single long term direction. Whether measured through spending commitments, procurement priorities, or partnerships with allied industries, every component points toward the same objective: a Canada prepared to influence, not simply participate in, the alliance's future. That is why this speech attracted such attention. It wasn't presented as a routine update on defense policy, it was presented as a roadmap for how Canada intends to position itself during a period of profound geopolitical change. As warfare evolves, alliances evolve alongside it. As technology transforms conflict, military planning must transform as well. And as responsibilities become more broadly shared across NATO, countries like Canada face decisions that will shape not only their own security, but the strength of the alliance for decades to come. Whether this vision unfolds exactly as outlined remains a question for the years ahead. But Carney's message was unmistakable. Canada intends to prepare for a future defined by greater responsibility, deeper cooperation, stronger military capability, and a larger role in shaping collective security. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to like the video, subscribe for more in depth political and geopolitical analysis, and let us know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Canada's new approach will strengthen NATO's future? Or will the challenges ahead prove even greater than today's leaders anticipate? We'd love to hear your perspective.